Okay, 1, 2, 3.
Sorry.
Well,
Cassie just not.
did you just forget to clap?
I clapped and then I realised it wasn't loud enough, so I clapped again myself.
Perfect.
And then was like, well, that makes no sense.
Have fun with that in the edit.
Okay, can we try that one more time? 1, 2, 3. Great.
Beautiful.
Happy?
Gorgeous.
I'm in a box. I'm very excited. First of all, how are you? And secondly, I'm excited about what I'm going to tell you.
Oh, right. Love it.
I'm
better
great.
now that I hear that you're excited. I'm really
Forgot
excited.
to tell you. I'm trying to speak quite calmly because I'm in the sound booth and there's another recording going on, so I'm not going to sound like myself today. But I will tell you in this lovely sultry tone that I booked a fuckload of Botox yesterday, like an offensive amount of Botox put into my face for the first time, hitting up every single area of my face. I'm not going to be able to move it at all.
Oh my God, Cassie, give us a tour of the face. Where are you getting? What are you getting?
So the plan is I'm going to get it between the eyebrows, which is the only thing I actually really wanted to get done. But then when I was on the website, I was introduced to something called Gummy Smile Botox, which is where they relax the muscles around.
It's
Gummy Smile
Botox. Very
Botox.
technical term. Gummy smile.
Yeah, so where they relax the muscles around your mouth so that you can't see your gums when you smile. And then I was like, whilst we're down there, we might as well slim up the face with a bit of the jaw Botox.
What about a bit of lip filler as you're at it if you're down there? Or
No, because if we can remember back to circa 2018, I tried lip injections and they did not suit me.
Did we ever get a picture of that?
We don't have a picture of that. We have a picture when I experimented with the lip plumping thing.
That's true.
And I will share that with you.
in the chat. Somebody, the host, has disabled my video, I presume as an act of passive aggression.
Of vengeance. That was me. I disabled
you.
I disabled my all the video. My own video. I must have disabled it all. Hang on.
It's fine. I mean,
did I do that?
I like looking at you guys. It's probably for the best that I can't see me.
I'm just trying, guys, I'm trying not to see myself for my own. Hang on.
Oh, hide self.
Hi.
Yeah. I do love a hide
Beautiful
self.
Jennifer.
Pardon me.
Any kind of low key creeps of the week, because some of the bigger, heavier creeps of the week are just too much.
Way too heavy. I agree. And
Way
again,
too heavy.
creeps of the there's a lot of hardcore creeps of the week that we should just glaze right over.
I think it's
And
too
instead,
depressing. It's very
it is
depressing,
too
and people
depressing.
come here for a bit of escapism. It's not our remit, I suppose.
To start video. Are you back?
Nah, it's grand. Oh yeah, here we go. Asking me to start.
Sorry about that.
It's a problem.
I have to say, it's absolutely sick. I got to give myself and looking at ourselves on a screen the creeps of the week.
Yeah.
Are you?
But I'm not
going
to look like this for much longer.
You're not going to look like
Not
that for
after
much
the
longer.
21st of April.
Maybe that's what we should all be doing.
Different.
So is it open again on the 21st of April?
From what I can gather, it's open now because this is a medical necessity.
Are you?
The jaw thing is for those who clench your jaw. So I actually do clench my jaw an awful lot. Now, spade is spade. That's not the reason I booked it. I booked it for aesthetic reasons. But if I can get by in telling people it's because I clenched my jaw, then I shall.
Yes. You deserve this.
I just want to be
You're the
gorgeous.
creep of the week.
I'm worried
Yeah, I
about
am.
you, Cass.
I am.
We're not going to be able to recognise you.
No, that's the plan.
Okay. Okay. Any personal creeps?
COVID cop. Personal creeps. No, I've just been wading through my own creeps in my own list of, you know how you save things as they come in. And I had been saving a thing that I thought, Cassie, you would do. It kept coming in on the week it was announced in the news into our DMs. And I was like, betcha Cassie will do that. And it was,
Wait,
I
hold on,
don't
what is
have the
it?
details. One of us needs to do it. It happened in China and it's a woman getting married to her betrothed gentleman who and then the day of the wedding or around the same time, her mother discovers that guy
it's her long lost.
It's her long lost sibling.
Yeah, I
Yes.
heard this. I heard this.
Sibling. Wow.
So
that's a close blood relative.
isn't it? Wow. And I haven't even done a top line. Did you even come across this?
No.
I only came across it in the last day or two. People
Yeah.
sent it on to me.
Oh, fucking hell. It's not my creep this week, so I don't have the information. But
Jesus,
we'll come
just
back
the
and do a proper
teaser.
one.
Little creep
But somebody
tease.
said in the DMs as well, and they're probably right, it's that one child rule that's come around and fucked oh my God, sorry, the photograph of Cassie's lips has just come in.
Oh, I haven't.
Yeah, it's
seen it.
gorgeous.
Here we go.
Cassie, who am I looking
That's why
at?
I'm not getting lip fillers anymore.
Sorry.
I'm getting Botox.
Am I looking at lip fillers?
No, that's the Kylie Jenner lip. You remember the lip
Oh, the
thingy where
sucking,
you used to suck on
the end of a bottle. I remember doing that as a kid.
But the lip
Do you remember
fillers
that? You suck
did not
it like
exist in-
Cassie, this looks exactly how many who have taken the lip filler just a shade too far. And I'm not one to judge because I desperately want them. But you know the way, like, if they've gone a bit, like, you know, to the 2.5 mil up and down, that can lead to a bit of...
But I'm not doing that.
fishy,
I'm
fishy
just
face
relaxing. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to relax the muscles around my mouth so that you cannot see my gums when I smile. And then that coupled with my new brand that I shall not mention, oral hygiene kit, is going to be fucking gorgeous.
You
I've been
sound like you're already
looking at
under
myself.
the influence of some kind of relaxant.
I'm just
so
trying to
you
be
know.
quiet so that somebody else can record a podcast next
you
Your
should be
podcast
sabotaging them.
is the best one.
Yes.
Yes, sabotage the other ones. Set fire to the rest.
Okay.
I love them all equally.
This, like, shy talk is pretty
Interesting.
great. It's all gold.
No,
all
I want to
filler,
get on
no
and tell you
filler.
my story because I've got a great story this week.
Can I do a
Cassie.
tiny bit of patron plugage?
Oh yeah, please.
Yeah, go on.
Because our patrons are coming in thick and fast. We love to see you. Little reminder that you get a personal email from me, Sophie Creep White, when you sign up, alerting you to the fact that there's a beautiful gift en route, a creep tote featuring Lawn Chair Larry for everyone who signs up to our Patreon, and access to over a year's worth of additional patron content. Like, you may never touch the bottom of that content swamp.
You may never scrape the barrel
You
like
could
we have.
genuinely, it could never it could see you out in terms of COVID. Like,
Well,
you
I'll
may
tell you this
just-
much.
to
I
the
got
very
a
end.
comment about all the content.
Oh dear.
And the comment was, it's too much.
Too much.
Too much.
I got that comment too from somebody else. Yeah, too much.
Like, well,
So maybe-
should
too much.
we remedy
Just calm
this right
down.
away?
They're like,
By
calm down, stop
throwing
giving
out
us your
those two
stories.
people. They just don't, you don't have to consume it all, is the thing. It's just there should you need it. Long drive,
Yeah.
walk
Yeah.
in
You
the
never
park.
know when you're going to go into a 48-hour labor with a baby, and you'll be glad of it. Then, won't you?
You never know. There's rarely warning.
Just don't navigate away from the Patreon browser when you're in labour. 'Cause it'll stop playing.
Speaking of the Patreon, Cassie, have you locked me out of the Patreon? I'm just trying to log in
I haven't
here.
done anything.
So I
haven't
can
done anything.
shout out to some of our brand new... Oh, God, it's not letting me in.
No.
Anyway,
that's
look,
a
all I
sign.
want to say is that, you're joining.
Oh,
it
we did
fills
have
us with
Isabella.
love.
An Isabella yesterday.
Good name.
Did we? I love seeing the kind of great names coming in. I love seeing an international address. I swear to God, it's not letting me back in. Is it
You're right.
talltales.com or .ie?
Sophie White. It has been years. IE.
Okay.
It has been years we've been doing this.
Yeah, I know, but you and all your ridiculous and problematic, I might add, passwords, emails.
I absolutely
It's just
agree.
Cassie at
with the
talltales.ie. And as we well know, the
passwords.
password is...
Okay, here we go. We have some amazing new names on our Patreon page. We've got an Angelica, an Isabella, got Philip, Leisha, Jen, Laura, Hillary, Caroline.
There can be
April,
only one
Leslie,
Jen.
Lucy, Claire, Grace, Natasha. I mean, just in the last... I'm still
48
just the
hours.
last few days. Lads, welcome aboard. Thank you so much. I'll be slip sliding on into your email address and sending you out a lovely little tote.
So here's another thing I want to
That's
say
the
about
end
the
of shilling
totes
the
you
patron.
receive.
That's Patron Corner.
In order for us to actually gain a profit from your patronage, you must stay longer as a patron than 4
Jen.
months. You must stay
Jen.
with us.
Jen,
For
for
a
fuck's sake.
while.
This
Why?
is an idea that hasn't occurred to them, and you're obsessed with it.
What do you
You
mean?
are giving them the
not
idea that
happy
you're
about it.
afraid they will do.
Sorry.
Jen.
We're business over here, so our lifetime value per customer needs to be 4 months, guys. Please don't let us down.
Don't let us down.
Moving on.
Please just stick
Moving
with us.
on. We do have a very exciting merch announcement. The merch is back. Well, we've got some new item, or no, old items are back again in stock. So wanted to put it out there that if you are purchasing some Creep Drive merch from talltales.ie/merch and you want to buy a gift like a beanie or a Creep of the Week mug or a tote for a friend or loved one, you can also request a personalized message from us, your favorite creeps. And so we will
And get in there and
send
do
you-
it now, because from next week I won't be able to move my face and deliver it.
So basically, cameo style. You can tell us it's for your friend Dawn, and she has an awesome arse.
This cracks me
And
up.
then we'll make a little message for Dawn and her arse and be like, your body's too creepalicious for you, babe, or whatever.
I don't know, that's giving me chills.
Is new levels.
Okay,
great.
okay, shill corner over. What have we got?
There's a new series on Netflix. We all immediately have to watch it. And I just watched the first episode last night. I can't believe I hadn't heard about this before. It's a fucking art heist. It took place St. Patrick's Day, 1990, in Boston. I'm going to give you the lowdown without doing any spoilers.
Okay.
Oh, gorgeous. I also inspired by the release of a new HBO documentary. I'm going deep on an incredible story, which I've called Born Again Murderer.
Ooh.
It's a really, really good one.
I'm torn between like what'll I put on the hive / what'll I put here. So I've got like a really good story that'll make us all feel better about the fact that we can no longer travel ever, full stop. That's just over.
Gotcha.
Or I've got things. Do you remember back in 2015 when everyone was live tweeting everything?
Yes.
Yes.
All the time. Hilarious woman live tweets plane hookup. Hilarious woman live tweets
Some
the
of
men
those
taking
were-
her bins out from the front of her gaff. They were always oversold on fucking BuzzFeed or wherever.
Fair.
But there was a spate, it was just a rash of people endlessly live tweeting things. And I think people got it into their heads that the live tweeting was way more entertaining than it was. Anyway, I've gathered some vintage live tweets threads. So which do you guys want for now, basically? You guys tell me.
I think
Absolutely love a vintage thread.
yeah, vintage live tweet, but we could probably get good mileage out of that for the Patreon.
Well, you guys tell yours. We'll see where we're at.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I'm excited. Heist and murder.
Let's kick off with murder, Cass.
Or would we
Okie
kick
dokie.
off with murder?
Murder.
Murder.
And I'm going to have to do it all in this calm, sultry tone. So, please, 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 we're in Sweden. Do not make a point of any of my pronunciation here. I am trying my absolute goddamn hardest. Okay?
We have Swedish
I know
listeners.
Yeah, and I know it makes no sense that I chose audio as the medium to make my money when I struggle to pronounce the most basic of phrases, but I'm trying.
Hamish.
Is it going to come up every fucking episode is all I want to know. Because if it is,
Depends.
we can talk. Right, and if you don't get that reference, join our Patreon. God, I hate us. Anyway, we're in the quiet town of Nutby, Sweden. And Sweden, as you well know, is rarely rocked by scandal. In fact, in all of Sweden, the homicide rate is only about 1.1 per 100,000 people, which is very similar to Ireland. We have a homicide rate of about 0.87 per 100,000 people. So considering the size of the population, you're having the same kind of low crime, low murder lifestyle, which is a nice way to live. So on the 10th of January 2004, the town of Nutby, which was home to a Pentecostal Christian sect, was horrified when a 30-year-old IT entrepreneur called Daniel Lind was shot in the head and chest and seriously wounded. More terrifyingly, a few doors down from the Lind home, another victim, Alexandra Fossimo, had been murdered. She was not just a normal resident of Nutby, though. Alexandra Fossimo was the pastor's wife. The pastor, Helge Fossimo, had been called for when Daniel's body had been discovered around 4 a.m. So as the intruder entered his own home and shot Alexandra, Helge was in an ambulance with Daniel's bleeding body on the way to the hospital.
Oh no. And was this all near the church? Because
I mean, the whole town revolves around the church.
Okay,
like,
grand. And when you say
all
you chose to call that church a sect, and I'm
as
interested
in the Pentecostal Christian sect, as in like they're a group of, you know, the group of Pentecostal kind of not a cult, but a
sect feels cult adjacent, but
it is cult adjacent.
Okay,
I think he's
in the ambulance. This is terrifying.
Yeah. So he's in the ambulance as someone enters his home and shoots his wife. So Helge Fossimo had been a pillar of the community and had devoted his entire life to serving Jesus. Someone just walked into the hallway. I'm pretty sure I'm terrifying them with this.
Because it sounds like you've just said, I'm devoting my entire life to serving Jesus.
Yeah.
Again.
Which was only
and
just
that would be admirable if it wasn't for all the total fucksticks who've really given that a bad name.
Who knows? Jesus forgives. I might come back someday. So Helge had originated from Bjornberg. Helge's parents were Norwegian, and the family were not particularly religious. So when he was about 10 years old, Helge joined a scouting organisation in the Mission and Covenant Church in Bjornberg, and just before 12, he became a born-again Christian. So through his high school, he volunteered in a Christian youth cafe, and at 17, he met Helena Johnson, who would become his future wife. Then in 1989, they joined the Pentecostal Church, and Helena also was a member. So in 1997, Helge and Helena moved to the town of Nutby. There, and they had 2 children with them. There, Helge began working with another church leader, Asa Waldo, to develop a training program for Christians and build this kind of Pentecostal community. Then he and Helena had a 3rd child in Nutby. And all was going well. But in 1999, there was a tragedy when Helge found Helena dead in the bathtub. And although there was a hole in her skull and there was a light amount of toxic concentration of dextroprotensiums in her blood, it was ruled an accident. Yeah. So within a few months, Helge was dating Alexandra, who would become his 2nd wife.
Oh.
Alexandra was the church leader, Asa's youngest sister. But around this time in 1999, a young woman named Sarah Svensson moved to Nutby. Isn't that the most Swedish name you've ever heard? Sarah Svensson. She was 25 at the time, and when she arrived into the village, she got married, but the marriage dissolved after only about 2 years. She was seeking kind of comfort and guidance from the pastor, who was then 32. And Helge really liked her, so much so that he offered her a job as a nanny for his 3 children. So within a couple of weeks...
You know when you like the look of a woman?
Within a couple of weeks, Helge and Sarah were having an affair, and the pastor convinced the young woman that their actions were justified because they were experiencing this heavenly kind of love that God approved of.
Of course.
Yeah. However, their sort of love affair, dalliance, was thwarted when Helge was struck with a mystery illness that began affecting his delusions, and he began having uncontrollable fits, which he believed was the devil attempting to attack his soul. And he turned to Sarah for comfort, and Sarah seemed to be the only one who could calm him down. So she moved into his bedroom, and Alexandra, his wife, moved into the guest room. Yeah, and Sarah would later say
the shit you can get away with when you just say that, you know, it's cool, I ran it past Jesus. He has sanctioned this whole thing.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So Sarah would later say in court that each night they were winning a victory for God's will through sexual intercourse. No, this sounds really
probably
creepy,
a
the way
fucking really good ride, though. Let's face it.
Yeah, riding the devil out of somebody.
Oh yeah. Oh, I love it.
God. Sorry, some bile rose in my throat there.
Has anyone ever seen Nymphomaniac?
Yes.
That's your homework for this week's creep, lads.
Okay. So naturally the community of Christians were like, you can't do this. This is ridiculous. Like, you're blatantly having an affair. And they all turned against Sarah and shut her out from the community.
Oh yeah, never against the man, like.
No, and the pastor, like, he's like the most religious man.
Sake.
Yeah. But for her part, Sarah really believed that she was fulfilling the will of Jesus Christ. Like, she would later say that in the evenings I was with the minister in the bedroom where we had a sexual relationship. Otherwise, my relationship was with him was that I was a slave and he was my master. I had no will of my own. During almost 2003, I was locked away because I was so incorrigible. God had turned his back on me and I sought mercy. So, isolated and vulnerable, Sarah believed that Helge was the only person in the world that loved her and he would be the key to her salvation. So when the pastor began telling Sarah that God had spoken to him, Sarah believed him. Now, I talk about this all the time because this is something that happened when we see it all the time in like religious stories gone awry, is that someone believes that God is speaking to them and has not yet acknowledged that these are just thoughts that they're having. They're just normal person thoughts. It is not the voice of Jesus Christ in their heads. But Sarah believed Helge when he said that God was speaking to him. And he said that God had special plans for Alexandra and wanted her in heaven with him. And he said to Sarah that when God contacts her, she should listen to him and that God would basically be in touch. So a couple of days later,
his people are going to get in touch with your people.
Yeah. And he did. A couple of days later, Jesus Christ text Sarah.
Stop it.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Because I was going to say, did it come in over the old waterproof Bluetooth headphone that she had in the shower, the head speaker? But then I realised it's the late 90s.
No, just a standard SMS.
Amazing.
Great coverage up in heaven. So Sarah received a series of text messages on her mobile phone claiming that she should kill Alexandra. And while she was at it, she should go down the road and also shoot Daniel Lind and kill him too. So she did. But she didn't kill Daniel Lind. She shot him in the face, but he survived. But on the 11th of January 2004, the day after the shooting, Sarah confessed to her involvement to the police entirely. So police began investigating and discovered the relationship between Sarah and Helge, and also, unsurprisingly, that the messages to Sarah had been sent by Helge himself. 2 weeks later, Helge was arrested.
Do you think he went into her phone, and in her contacts changed his name, Helge, from Helge to Jesus, like when she wasn't looking?
I think it was just like a classic, I had a burner phone and potentially put the name in as Jesus Christ Superstar and a little star emoji after it.
Big JC.
Yeah.
Or Jesus fucking Christ.
So 2 weeks later, Helge was arrested, as was Daniel Lind's wife. So Helge and Daniel Lind's wife had also just been having an affair. But she was later released with no charge and had been found to have no involvement with the murder.
Oh my God.
So at the trial, Sarah Svensson gave a detailed confession. She told the court that she had been influenced by the text messages that were forwarded to her by Helge. Her credibility was strengthened in a string of erased text messages that were recovered from her mobile phone. So on the 30th of July 2004, the sentencing here has been quite controversial. Helge was sentenced to life in prison for instigating murder and instigating a murder attempt. However, when the trial was going on, they revisited the fact that his first wife had also died in suspicious circumstances, and they brought that forward as a charge. Now, he was acquitted of that murder, but it is well believed that he did in fact also kill his first wife. The reopening of the investigation found that there was no way she could have sustained her head injury and hole in her skull through a casual fall. Yeah, that she had to been hit with something, but I guess they had no way of proving that it was him after all that time.
Maybe she fell at speed on a bullet.
Or maybe, she was like brutally beaten by someone who's instigated murder in the name of Jesus Christ. So he was not convicted for killing his first wife, but he was sentenced to life in prison for instigating murder and instigating murder attempt. And Sarah Svensson was sentenced to institutionalized psychiatric care. So throughout his trial, Helge pleaded his innocence, but in a dramatic twist in 2006, the pastor admitted his involvement during a TV interview on TV4. And he said, "I feel that I have recovered. I lived a lie and I don't want to do that any longer," he said as an explanation for giving the confession all of a sudden. And he also said that there were several other people involved in the crime, although prosecutors denied that there was any other suspects. In 2007, Helge married in prison, of course.
Of course. Never a prob for these guys.
No, never. And in 2014, after serving 10 years of his life sentence, he applied to the court for his sentence to be reduced, which meant that he'd be eligible for parole in 2020. But in 2015, they repealed that decision, saying that he has to serve at least 24 years of imprisonment. But he'd be close to 2028, I think, is 24 years imprisonment.
Oh my God. It's not long enough.
No.
For fuck's sake.
Yeah. So in January 2010, a Swedish newspaper reported that Sarah had begun college in another city. So she basically went through psychiatric care, and it became more and more, not lenient isn't the right word. She obviously went through treatment, recovered, and was given more and more freedom until it's presumed that she returned to society sometime in 2010. But thankfully, under Swedish law, you can't disclose any of the details of someone who's been treated in psychiatric care upon their release.
Do we know what kind of age she was when she fell under his sway?
Oh, 25. She was 25
nice.
when they met. She was 26 when the murder occurred.
It's just it must be unimaginable to have grown up very, devout and with a lot of faith, and then to be told by your pastor that you have to do all this stuff, and it's just it's so insidious, such horrible, insidious abuse.
But
and oh my God, the level of self-serving of that man. Jesus.
Disgusting.
Yeah. But he's her pastor, he's her boss.
Yeah.
She's working for him. Then
he's basically middle management, and the Lord and Jesus are the C level.
Where's HR?
They're the CEO.
Is what I want to know.
CFO, and then
HR is like Mary, but the Pentecostals don't believe in Mary. They don't believe in the saints.
Bingo. So
don't
there
believe
is
in the bureaucracy of the saints.
That's very interesting.
No
the Pentecostals don't believe in Mary.
Do they not?
Pentecostals and when I was a born again Christian, I was a cross between a Pentecostal and an evangelist, and we didn't pray to the saints. We acknowledged their existence, but not that they needed to come before Jesus. So saints are quite I think they're quite a, not solely Catholic, but it's definitely a Roman thing. Whereas the more fundamentalist Christian sects believe in a direct line to Jesus Christ, that you would pray directly to Jesus and God and receive your words and wisdom from them. So they don't have holy days or saints holidays and things like that. It's all about the two main boyos.
That's interesting. I must ask, one of my uncles is born again, and I tend to try and avoid the topic with him, but maybe I should ask him a bit about it someday.
There's interesting hybrids, we were
he's Californian born again, so I imagine that's kind of like a hydroponic version of born again, maybe,
or something with a juice cleanse.
Yeah.
There's different, because there's born agains who completely not disregard, but who believe every word of the Old Testament, which you cannot take literally.
That's very interesting, because that's very Judaism.
Yeah, but then it gets to a point where it's disregarded. It's acknowledged, believed, and then inconsequential in how you live your life, because Jesus died for all our sins. So after that, it's completely fine.
So that's interesting. So what's the point then? It's just we know this happened. We believe that that's in the past, but thank God for Jesus.
We don't live our lives by the rules of the Old Testament.
Well, in fairness, some of the rules of the Old Testament, that God doesn't chime with the New Testament God as much. It's God, if he was a character in a novel, you'd be not believable, because why is he suddenly behaving in all these very different ways between one and the other?
Is it
what do you think, Cass? You're more well versed than me. But like God in the
he's a
New Old Testament
God-fearing.
is very kind of, he's a harsh guy.
But biblical God as a whole is like a God, like you should be a God-fearing person. Like he's not the like
your
long
friend.
bearded nice guy. Like he smites people, you know. The rules of the Old Testament are probably, to see them reflected in any religion, be hard to pinpoint. But like the man should walk in front of his wife kind of thing. Thou shalt not eat shellfish. We're all an abomination. Like
prove yourself to me. Kill
you
your
can't
son.
wear cloths of two woven fibers. All that kind of bizarre stuff that's impossible to live your life by. But that the Old Testament stuff is where people have found license for modern day hate. Like that's where the homophobia is. That's where the misogyny is. That's where the difference and you know, all that kind of that's where the 10 Commandments are. So it's an interesting thing for
very interesting
religion
Cass.
to take those rulings. But a lot of born again Christians, a lot of, I suppose, born again hybrid Christians believe, you know, live their lives more by the teachings of Jesus rather than the Old Testament. Still very interesting. Not trying to convert anybody. I am not a Christian. I don't participate in organised religion, but it is something to be understood.
I have my very special disorganized religion that's very fun. It's
Good.
you know, it's like a pick and mix.
Just something new every day.
I have a pencil
whatever
case
I'm
that my
feeling
cousin gave me that says "Stay in your magic," and it's got crystals. It's got AA pamphlets. It's got a meditation. It's got some aphorisms. It's got a prayer to God.
Well,
whatever
amazing.
gets you through. That story was wild. I have never heard the like of it. That's brilliant, Cassie. Thank you.
So there is a HBO documentary that was released yesterday called Pray, Obey, Kill. Great title.
Oh my God, amazing.
Great title.
I wonder if it's going to come to Sky Atlantic.
Probably.
You
Although some
sound so
reviews
bored by that
I
question.
read some reviews that said, don't bother with it.
I think
Well-
the HBO, as me, a person, a completely anonymous, person, I think if HBO is looking for some feedback, things are sliding over there a little bit. I think so. I thought the Nexium doc was about 4 episodes too long.
Absolutely.
They need
We're
to
getting a lot of
tighten
that
shit
these
up.
days, though.
Tighten her up. Okay,
Well, it's
Jen,
hard
come
for
on.
them
Speaking
because-
of tighten her up.
Speaking of docu-series, I've got another one for you. I watched the first episode of this last night. It was sensational. It's sensational. And I recommend it for all of us. It's exactly what we like. It's a nice mystery with, light on the murder, but heavy on the weirdness. This is all about an art heist. So the series is called This Is a Robbery. And it's a fucking must watch. So I'm 1 episode in and I was like, what is this? How have I never heard about this? It's amazing, right? It took place, this heist, in 1990. And it in this museum that I had also never heard of called the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum, which is in Boston. And it's fucking amazing. So from the outside, looks very ordinary, like 5 or 6 story building, okay? But then you go in and it's kind of a replica of a Renaissance balconied, so there's an atrium in the center of the building and it's just jam-packed full of this lady, Isabella Stewart Gardner's American collection of, it's not American, her collection of art, which was, we're talking Rembrandts, Vermeers, absolutely amazingly valuable, and it's an amazing museum. So she died, left all her shit to the public of Boston, and this is her museum, which she did build as well. And it's absolutely an amazing museum. You go in, all the rooms are sort of like living rooms, all in, of I don't know what era, but it's unlike a kind of sterile museum that you might think of in your mind. It's a total experience situation, right?
So it's kind of like immersive, like they've
Totally.
recreated her kind of
her
the
whatever
way she would have housed it.
exactly the way the original pieces would have been housed at the time that
Okay,
they were
yeah.
being painted. So the year is 1990, and it is St. Patrick's Day. So we're rolling on into the evening. We're in Boston.
Keeping the religious.
A shitload of Irish people. It's a huge, big party night. St. Paddy's Day. There's beads flying everywhere, shot glasses hanging off necklaces, bits of green shite floating everywhere. And it's a hoolie,
I just hate
right?
it so much as a day.
I know. It's very depressing, especially in a kind of an Americanized version, because it just boils us all down to drunken assholes. We are those things, but we're so much
Only
more.
Sometimes.
Only
on
sometimes.
Thursdays.
Just of a Thursday. So anyway, we're 1990. It's about, well, I can give you the exact time. So we're at midnight, okay? So the art museum is obviously closed, but it has a security team. The security team consists of 2 very young men and sort of hippie type guys. You know, this one particular guy goes by the name Rick Abbott. Okay, visualize this. Extremely long, nipple length, very curly brown hair. Slender gentleman with a crocheted bum bag.
Oh, stunning.
Age 23. Music school dropout. Really nice guy. But, you know, heading up the security of this particular museum of valuables.
Such a bizarre choice for this role.
Such a bizarre choice, I agree, Subs.
Get
But
HR on the phone.
But part of the weird choice might have been that is kind of, there was just no way they expected a heist. Like, I'd say the 3 of us could have gotten into this place with relative ease. Okay, so here's the scene. St. Patrick's Day, St. Patrick's evening. A lot of shit going on in terms of noise, people walking by. It's 12 at night. People are starting to go home, but there's kind of like activity in the streets. There's 2 security guards. Our guy, Richard, has just finished his round and he's relieved the other guy, whose name I can't remember. And so he's back in his hut. And there's like a security hut. And the other guy's just doing the rounds, as in walking around the museum. Ding dong on the little intercom. And he says, wonder who that is. Presses the button. Little screen lights up. And it's 2 Gardaí outside. And they say to him, hello, sir. We've gotten a report of a disturbance. Oh, let us in now. Right? So the 2 lads come into sort of the lobby area before the security hut. And,
I'm picturing legitimate Gardaí, by the way. They're
Well,
not, yeah?
Well,
They're police,
as it turns out, well, they're dressed very like policemen, but surprise, they're not. So anyway, Richard says in this interview he did with moviemaker.com, I could see on the security camera that it looked like 2 cops just standing out there. They came into the door, they rang the bell, they said, Boston police, we got a report of some disturbance on the premises. So I buzzed them in. So there's a very good sense that Richard was high. He didn't say he was, but there's a feeling of marijuana about him. And so his retelling of what happened, you know yourself. Anyway, they asked me if I was alone, he says. I said, no, my partner was off doing the rounds. They said, get him down here. Then one of the cops turned to me and said, don't I know you? Don't I recognize you from somewhere? I think there's a warrant out for your arrest. Can you step out from behind the desk now? And then he said, up against the wall. And so Richard is up against the wall, right? And at that point, one of the other guard said, gentlemen, this is a robbery.
Yes!
Okay? So the 2 security guards are at this point duct taped. Now, I have to share with you let me get my screen back. I'll have to look at myself here again now. Oh, gross. I'm going to put a picture up behind me of the type of, duct taping that happened to Richard. When eventually, I'll get to this point, when they were found in the basement, alive, both security guards, this is how Richard looked. Is this right? Oh yeah, hang on, I'll get out of the way here. Do you see what I'm saying there?
Jesus, Richard.
So Richard has what can be described as an elaborate Halloween costume.
To get back off.
Absolute
He looks
murder.
like Jesus at a stag.
Totally. So the guards, when they found him, I should start going.
He does have the most luscious kind of Jesus-y hair.
Stag. right? So anyway, when they were found...
The apostles have just really fucked one over on Jesus.
So
Your last
this is
night
how...
of freedom.
This is how Richard was found later on by the police. I should stop calling them guards. But the police, and they're interviewed in this first episode of this Netflix series, and they say, very unusual use of masking tape. Basically, is what the police say.
Do you know what he looks
like,
actually? He looks like me wrapping up the Creep of the Week mugs to send out. That's what your mug will look like if it arrives to your house. Jesus' head wrapped in masking tape.
Right. So, these guys, security guys, the two 20-odd-year-olds with the crocheted bum bags down in the basement with Art Attack masking tape action. So, meanwhile, back upstairs, the two policemen robbers get to work, right? And it is fucking interesting the way they approach this heist. So, let me just get here. So basically, they got away with 13 pieces of art valued at about 200 million at the time dollars. That's now worth about $500 million, 500 million. So we're talking Rembrandts, Degas, Manets. But what's so strange about the way they did this, they knew where they were going. They went to an area called the Dutch Room. That, of course, was all the Dutch masters. So that's all the fucking pricey gear. You know yourself? All that kind of good gear. So they go up, they go straight to the Dutch Masters room and they get to work. But what was so fucking weird about the way they took down these huge paintings. One, I think it's Rembrandt's, the only seascape he did. I think it was the most valuable piece they took. And it is fucking huge. And they took what they presume is just a scalpel. And instead of clicking kind of the pieces out of the frame, they just cut them out, right? Yeah. And there's a suggestion there that they thought that they maybe could roll them. Do you know what I'm saying? Which of course you can't because they're cracky. Stiff and cracky. Yeah. So there's a feeling from what the robbers have left behind that they didn't really know what they were doing at all. So
remind us, was this in the early 90s?
This was 1990.
Because I feel like do you remember the original Batman?
Yes.
I feel like there was an art robbery in that where they did scalpel out the paintings and roll them up. And I was like, maybe that was the extent of their research. They were like, we'll just do it like the way they did in Batman. Maybe. You would sort of, that could
the timeline
easily
be the case.
Might not line up.
So I'll tell you about the timeline.
Batman. Anyway.
They were in there for 80 minutes. Which is a fucking long ass time. And also, so the whole first episode of this series is sort of, it's setting us up for kind of a few different potential outcomes here. Basically, these pieces of art were never found, which is fucking interesting as well because they were so valuable and so iconic. There's just no way they could have reappeared on the market for sale, right? Which might suggest that maybe they were stolen, with somebody with a shopping list. So a very, very wealthy individual with a taste for the Dutch masters sent these fucking lads out on a mission, okay? But again, that doesn't necessarily hold up because there has not been a fucking whisper of even a single one of these pieces since. So even if you were some kind of, like they described it in the show as like a Bond supervillain who just had a basement full of these masterpieces that he would, self-flagellate in front of and never tell a soul. Like, it's very unlikely that somebody wouldn't dob him in because wait for this.
Or that he'd resist putting them on Instagram.
Well, that exactly so. You just have to gloat on one level. And if you even did a shadow of gloating, that person you gloated to would initially be up for $1 million, no questions asked, award for information, which by now, in this year of our Lord 2021, you would get 10 million quid for no questions asked information. God. So that means that theory sort of out the fucking window. So the guards were called, the police, the Boston police were called, and they were like, this is out of our league, we need the FBI. FBI arrive and start looking into what the fuck happened here. So the first episode definitely is suggesting to us that our much loved Jesus on a Stag, had something to do with this, right? Richard, right, before he did his round, at the end of his round, before he relieved the other guy, he went down and opened the outside door. We don't know why, okay? But that was a weird move. Maybe he was going out for a smoke. We don't know. And then went back to his post. 10 minutes later, 2 fake guards arrive. So we're thinking, Richard, what the fuck is this about? Here's another thing about Richard, whatever his name is. I think all of the theft happened in one room, the Dutch master's room. There was one other piece, the other end of the gallery, that was stolen. And there's kind of various trip alarms. And now we're back in the 90s here. So there's we don't have kind of...
It's not like Mission Impossible.
It's not like Mission Impossible. But
lasers.
what they did have was some kind of... So they had the security VHS tapes running. That was taken by the robbers. They had another type of security, which was movement, a kind of alarm attached to the frames. And that would send back to what looked like a fax machine, and that would live print out these reams of paper, and they would kind of log the times and dates of when shit was moved. Now, the robbers ripped the paper off as they were taking the VHS, but what they didn't know was that the hard drive on that thing was also recording the events. So that's how we know this piece on the other end of the gallery was moved, and the timing-wise doesn't quite line up. So it's looking a bit like Richard might have taken that.
Third person.
We don't know. And that would suggest he was in cahoots with the 2 guards, and also the weird, elaborate kind of absolutely no harm came to the 2 lads in the basement. Like, why the fuck wouldn't you just kill them? You're stealing 200 million euros worth of art. Why do you give a shit about the lives of these 2 men who could potentially identify you because they've seen your fucking face? So all that shit sort of hovering around the air in the first episode. So obviously FBI get involved, and they're like, right, who's in the area? Is there anyone with kind of history of theft of art? And I tell you, they interview in the documentary, and the guards talk about probably the most exciting art villain I've ever seen. Let me get his proper name up here. So there's a couple of his name is Miles Connor. Right, he's a local art thief, believe it or not, who had actually stolen a Rembrandt before. Now, Miles is just this fucking amazing Renaissance criminal man. His dad was a policeman. His half brother was also a policeman. His other brother was a priest, and then there was Miles. Miles was in Mensa. He was also had this amazing musical career. He was like this fucking rock and roll guy. He was only like 5 foot nothing. This little genius guy, okay, like Del Boy. So they were like, this has got fucking Miles written all over it. But Miles had an alibi. He was in jail already. So they were like, but it just smacks of Miles. So Miles was actually interviewed in the first episode of this, and it is probably it's just amazing. You gotta get in. So we're only at the beginning. There's a load of other theories to come further down the line, but the bottom line here is we're going to get wrapped up, I think, later on in mob action. And there's also connection to Dublin from an IRA kind of. Now, no more spoilers, but that's just the top line. I'm absolutely bet in. But here's where we stand now. There's a 10 million quid reward for any information on this shit. This guy, Colin Barnacle, is the guy who made this Netflix series, and he's been working on this series for 10 years. He grew up down the road. He was only 4 when the heist happened, but he's absolutely played a blinder with the interviews. He obviously knows he's just working perfectly, right? And he's also hoping that this series sort of jogs something loose, right? Oh, it's also terrible because it's great, but there's a lady interviewed. She was the director of the gallery. She had only been the director for 6 months when this fucking heist happened. She was the first female director of the gallery as well. So it was a big gig. And then this fucking shit happens. And the media just went for her, right? First question.
For fuck's sake.
Exactly. What are you doing hiring this Richard guy with a goddamn bun bag at the age of 23 to mind this incredibly valuable collection? And she was like, I didn't even know who this kid is. I'm here 6 months. Anyway,
That's definitely not the right answer to give to that question, though.
I know. She was just like,
know.
I don't
Who is he?
know.
I'm like Jesus. I said, that's fine. He's a good guy. Must be a good guy.
But she obviously was devastated.
Well,
she just couldn't believe it. One
What's
more
it called
thing they
again?
took, which I thought was interesting.
Oh, yeah.
So they were doing so they got the Vermeers, they've got a they did match it, right, guys? So you know how I was talking about that seascape, the storm on the Sea of Galilee. Sorry, that was Vermeer. Huge big piece that it looks like they just scalpeled out of the frame, which sort of implies like that they didn't have time. So they did that, but then they also found this very tiny, it's about the postage stamp sized print of, I think it's a self-portrait of who the fuck, Rembrandt or something, right? I'm getting that wrong, I know I am, but it doesn't matter. That's not the point. They clipped out this tiny postage stamp. They carefully removed the back of it. So they had this. So, like, why the fuck did they do that with this way less valuable piece and just scalpel? So it looks like at some point, right, they reckoned that the lads had police scanners with them because, they were there 80 minutes, but there was obviously a skirmish and they rushed to leave thinking they were going to be caught or they picked something up on the radio. And in doing so, they were just kind of pocketing things as they were coming out. And they took, there was a flag, a Napoleonic flag. And they took this, what do they call it? Oh God, I can't remember the name of it. But basically it's like a bronze eagle that sits atop. So it's not the interesting thing about the flag. It's like the bit on top. Pocketed that,
it's like the
legged it out.
little holder kind of
exactly.
topper.
But it is very, very interesting.
It's
anyway.
like taking the little plastic podium that the Hope Diamond is sitting on.
Exactly. So the Netflix series is called This Is a Robbery. And you got to get in. Get on.
It sounds brilliant.
It really
on
is.
This, have you ever read The Goldfinch by Donna Tartt?
No, I obviously have heard of it.
Absolutely brilliant book. And it's like about the kind of central character when he's very young steals this incredible piece of art. And it's just fascinating because it's really it goes very into this world of like, dealing art, dealing antiques, the kind of nefarious methods and modes and the kind of underbelly of it all. And
I love it.
It's such a good book. Like, it's brilliant.
I love it. And it's a real, like, the underbelly meets the highest echelons of,
Exactly. Yeah.
And it's a real fuck you to the system. So it's absolutely brilliant. I love it
and
all.
also, like, it's so interesting because all art is stolen more or less, like, from the cultures that it's originated from.
That's true.
Just everything.
Look at the British Museum.
The marbles.
Yes.
Just like the absolute pillaging of the art of other countries is, a tradition for centuries. Mm-hmm. It's mad. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But
would
all
recommend.
under, as you say,
love
the
it.
kind of veneer of respectability.
That's it. It's
mad.
Juicy.
It's juicy. I thought was incredible.
Absolutely brilliant.
Will I do a little couple of live tweets that really weren't as funny as the authors fucking thought?
Yes,
to see us out. Okay. So when do you think? Okay, first off, when do you think the very first incident of somebody live tweeting an event happened?
1984.
I don't know. Pretty early on into Twitter's birth, I presume.
Like, I think, would we say that we're kind of correct in saying that, like, the live tweeting was really the bread and butter of, like, 2015?
Okay.
2016.
That feels correct.
Yeah.
That's when they were always kind of like, someone live tweeted a bakery fire and it was hilarious. Oh, fucking hell. Anyway, the first live tweeting incident I found was in 2008.
Oh, much later.
Oh, that's only like 2 years into Twitter.
Much earlier, yeah. And it's kind of bad. Like, in terms of, like, think about taking the medium and immediately taking it to the worst fucking place you can possibly imagine to bring it. This journalist live tweeted the funeral of a child.
Oh my God.
In Colorado. And he did it from his newspaper's Twitter account.
What a fucking moron.
Took it upon himself to go to the memorial service of a 3-year-old child who had died tragically when a pickup truck crashed into an ice cream shop. Like, fucking hell.
What could be, where's the interest? I mean, obviously it's incredibly sad for the family, but why? Why?
Well, like a journalist would attend something like that, but usually there'd be an agreement, with the family, for example, that like journalists might wait outside if they're going to be there or something like that.
What an idiot!
But he went and he decided, I'm gonna use this new microblogging service called Twitter. And he obviously took, the idea of the live Twitter thread, a burgeoning idea at the time, to a very low depth.
And how was it received?
And oh my God. So at the time, right, this is interesting. At the time, there was like 2.9 million Twitter users, so 3 million. As opposed to like, I guess right now there might be about 2 million Twitter users in Ireland alone, like, do you know the way? And so this piece that I was reading about it was like really laying out Twitter for the reader, which is really funny. So it was like Twitter's users update as they go about their daily lives from their cell phones. Members can send, quotation marks, tweets, 140 character real-time messages about their plans for the day, people they just encountered, or simply what they ate for lunch. It's so kind of adorable that this is what like early Twitter was, or certainly what it was perceived as. And so then this journalist's decision to microblog at the child's funeral, pretty fucking horrific. I think some of the quotes, though, despite the horrific nature of this live thread, it's the quotes about Twitter that I really enjoy. So one person is like, an actor from the area was quoted as saying, not sure if she'd use Twitter to cover the event, but didn't see a major difference between, and this is how the newspaper has put it, twittering the event and writing about it later. I love that. I'm sad that twittering never came up on and never kind of, became part of the vernacular. Just didn't stick. Very sad. But anyway, I mean, all things considered, it was basically like, no, this is highly uncalled for. Don't do this. So cut to like 5-6 years later, people are live tweeting all over the shop. Like, okay, so in 2014, one of the original Twitter employees live tweeted her birth.
Oh my God.
So the way all the originals on Twitter, they're just like at
name.
Yeah, at Claire.
Yeah.
What's the founder again? At
Jack Dorsey.
Jack, yeah. So anyway, she's at Claire. And she did what has to be one of the most tedious and boring live tweets of Labour that's ever been committed to the internet. Honestly, she doesn't deserve her at Claire. Somebody needs to give her at Claire to at Tyra. Do you remember that amazing woman who live tweeted her Labour alone in the hotel bathroom a few years later?
Oh my God, yes.
Anyway,
yes.
So this like live tweeted birth was like a world first in 2014, apparently. She literally is like never misses an opportunity for a bit of product placement. She tweets contractions 5 minutes apart, my at Twitter jacket on, headed to hospital, # in Labour. And she's got this like really irritating kind of like utility anorak that's like branded at Twitter at Claire on her back. Painful. I don't know why the anorak element bothering me so intensely, but also just this is really, really a boring ass Labour. I can't believe somebody could take Labour and actually make it boring, but this Twitter thread does. Moving on. Okay, so everyone remembers Plain Bay, I presume.
No.
Do you guys not?
It's ringing a few bells.
This is interesting. Okay, so # Plain Bay went viral. And it was all like this one woman was live tweeting the two people in front of her on the plane having like a cute meet and falling for each other.
Oh, I remember this, yes.
Yes. And so at the beginning of it, this woman, Rosie, who is the tweeter, had asked to switch seats with a woman behind her so that she could sit with her boyfriend back there. and the woman moved into Rosie's seat in front of them. And Rosie sort of said, oh, maybe like your new seat partner will be the love of your life. And then the next thing was that the two of them in front of Rosie and her boyfriend actually started to seem like they were getting along. And so they started kind of like live tweeting it. And she's got updates like, guess what? They have been talking nonstop since we took off. They're both personal trainers. They have touched arms a few times. They're both vegetarians. And so it goes on. She's like updating all along. No one's ordered drinks yet, but they are sharing a cheese board, protein board, and all of the imagery is photographs taken through the plane seats. So all you can see of these people is like their ear and their shoulder. And she's kind of like, she's transcribing their conversation. So she's got like him, this is my mom, her, OMG, your mom is so hot. Next, pictures of Rosie and her boyfriend just listening, saying this is compelling stuff. And she's now offering her take on the encounter. So she said, important detail. This plane has no AC. The flight attendants keep handing out water. I'm doing a really obnoxious American voice and I'm enjoying it.
It's very convincing.
Keep handing out water. Why would you sit closer to your seat partner unless you want to smooch? Okay, so Rosie is like really projecting, okay? Now the hashtag Plain Bay is starting to gain momentum online. And Rosie is resharing like loads of people's reactions to what's going on in real time. And she's saying on her story, I wish these people knew how many people are rooting for them. We've got one woman, got my Diet Coke and heading to the break room at work for this. So like people are now tuning in real time, sharing their own reaction faces. So Rosie has tweeted, she just put her hand on his shoulder for like a second. And then this other woman called For Beck's Sake, which is a great handle, has shared her own like, ooh, get it, girl. So the hand on the shoulder gesture major caused ructions. Okay, Rosie's updating us. They just started talking about what they want out of life. Marriage, kids, etc. He says he's been too dedicated to his fitness to pursue relationships. That's all I got. Now they're talking so quiet. Okay, so she's listening.
You are well done on alienating all of our American
Everyone,
listeners.
guys, love you. I just feel like this thread is nothing without me being super obnoxious as well. Okay, she has taken the stalking out of the plane. People apparently concerned that they were going to not get closure on this anecdote. Rosie's talking to them saying, don't worry, I'm following the story to baggage claim. I will have answers for you. Next shot, she is behind them walking through the airport as they just wheel their little wheelie suitcases. She's just captioned it, OM fucking G. They're still walking together. So then they finally got one half of the Plain Bay couple. Okay, the final installment from Rosie and her boyfriend was that they discovered that the Plain Bay couple began following each other on social media, and they both live in the same city. Okay, so then Plain Bay man, right? So the man of the couple, we learned that his name is Holden. And so he sees the whole thread, recognizes himself, and starts tweeting using the hashtag catching flights and feelings. Okay. So I guess that's his way of being like, yep, liked that. And he then, like, you know, he's into fitness, he's pushing his own thing, you know, struggling actor, also looking for clients, starts to really lean into being one half of Plain Bay. Mm-hmm. So much so that Holden, Rosie, and her boyfriend all appear on the Today Show.
Hilarious.
The other half of Plain Bay the woman, who has been identified only as Helen, has
married.
asked, but I imagine fucking begged, to remain anonymous. She was stalked all over the internet, having her entire plane journey be chronicled for strangers against her will, without her permission. And I think it's probably been a massive fucking ball ache for her. So that was Plain Bay. They all had, they dined out on that for, hot 15 minutes, as is the kind of, norm. But it definitely threw up some, like, I suppose, ethical issues about, whether live tweeting events happening around you was a fair thing to do or not.
Yeah, I think anything that involves taking pictures or commenting on other people's actions and publishing them on the internet is ethically immoral.
Very dubious. In fact,
not.
all the way over into immoral. Yes, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Do you want to hear a couple more? There is Plain Bay, the breakup version. So this was in 2015.
Here we are being like, this is completely immoral, but give me more.
But give us. So this happened in 2015, and this was a woman who decided, imagine witnessing a couple breaking up across the aisle from you on a delayed flight, right? So this was a fucking grounded flight. They hadn't taken off yet, but no, they were in that horrific, that 40 minutes of waiting on the tarmac. And you see some harrowing shit going down. You're like, I must chronicle this for strangers. So anyway, this woman, Kelly Keegs, hey guys, tweets out, this guy on the plane just broke up with his girlfriend and she is sobbing. And this is accompanied by a picture taken across a plane aisle of you can see this guy kind of slumped in a t-shirt, looking a bit like, I can't believe I have to do this. And a woman, like, kind of crouched on her seat, like she's pulled her knees up, arms around her face, like, clearly
that's terrible.
Just such a sad, dejected, defensive position. Tweet has 12.5 thousand hearts. Why? Here we go, Kelly Keegs. She's providing the actual dialogue. Guy, I just can't stand you. I can't be near you. I would switch seats if I could. Guy continued. Is this really a surprise? Are you seriously surprised at this information? Girl, great. Just great. I'm so glad I paid $40 extra to be on this fucking flight with you. Guy, I don't care. Girl, I'm glad you don't care. Girl, it's just so mean. Do I deserve this? Why are you bringing this up? I don't want to be this girl. I don't want to be her. I want to be my best for you and you won't let me. Is that what you're starting to do with me? Just slow fade me out, just like the others. Oh, how fucking relatable is this, by the way? Kelly Keegs interjects, this is the greatest plane delay I've ever had. Oh my God. Think it, but don't say it and don't tweet it to 2,000 likers on the internet. Girl,
God,
you don't even understand why I'm fucking sad. You hate everything about me. Girl, why is this so easy for you? It's just that fucking easy. What do you want from me? Guy, you need to calm down. In fact, he's American, so hang on. You need to calm down. Girl.
Sophie, that sounded the exact same.
No. Americans pronounce the L in calm. They say calm.
Calm.
Do you hear it? You need to listen to Oprah's Super Soul Sundays to understand this. Calm. Okay. You need to calm down. Girl, to me, I just really thought, this was going to go somewhere. Kelly Keegs interjects to explain that there is now